Movies, a form of media that allows for directors to not just tell stories, but create experiences that can immerse a person into a world, fiction or non-fiction. Movies play a vital role not only in the media that we consume, but also in pop culture like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man or Back to the Future, just to name a few examples. So seeing as how much influence movies have on our day-to-day lives, it's no surprise that normal people would try to make their own movies. And this is where RecTubers come into play. You see what I did there? You see what I did there? It's called a segue, fuckers. We're talking about Rec Room movies today. But TBB, what is a Rec Room movie? I hear you asking as Cheeto crumbs come falling out of your mouth. Well, in simple terms, it's a movie created in Rec Room and usually uploaded to YouTube. These movies can be as long as an hour or just 30 minutes. However, the stories they can tell can be very intriguing. So today, we're gonna look at 3 Rec Room movies, see what they do right, what they do wrong, and if there's a future for this style of content. Let's kick it off with Deck Deck's The Magic Door. So, this movie isn't all too bad. Yes, the cinematography and sets aren't great by any means. Most of the sets are rooms made by other people, but I think it makes up for this in how good the world building and story is. The Magic Door is set up like any other movie. You have the first act, which introduces us to the characters and their history together. You then have the second act, which is the main adventure bit, and is also when we get to learn more about the main villain. And then the third act, where our heroes confront and inevitably defeat the villain. Deck Deck does a good job at setting up the characters, showing us their history together, their dynamics, their personalities, and how they react to the Magic Door and the main villain's actions. All of it is done really well. But this movie does have its issues, primarily with the sets and cinematography. As I said before, a majority of the sets are just public rooms, which to me is just kind of lazy, and the camera angles, it can just be flat out bad sometimes. Let's talk about superheroes now. I think we're all familiar with superhero movies in one way or another. I think we're all familiar with superhero movies in one way or another. The Dark Knight or the Avengers spring to mind first when talking about these sort of films. But have you ever wondered, damn, I wonder what these movies would be like if they were made in Rec Room? Of course you fucking haven't. That's such a dumb fucking question. I think most of my viewers know where I'm going with this. We're talking about the RecTuber Saga. Of course we're talking about the RecTuber Saga. You can't talk about the RecTuber Saga. Now, I just want to preference this because I know I'm going to get comments saying it. I am not glazing Sonic the Man. Yes, I know I'm in it, but I'm just trying to give my honest opinion on Rec Room movies as a whole, which means covering the wide amount of subgenres in Rec Room movies. Now with that out of the way, the RecTuber Saga created by Sonic the Man here on YouTube is what happens when you put the MCU into Rec Room, and its inspiration is as visible as Epic's mother if she were to replace the moon. You can easily draw one character to another. Sonic is the classic leader like Captain America, Iron Guy the speedster like the Flash or Quicksilver, and Axe and Crypt are literally one-on-one copies of Thor and Doctor Strange. As for villains, I'd make the argument that Megaton is like Thanos, and the Superior, the newest big bad in the series, is similar to that of Doctor Doom. Now, these aren't technically considered movies. Sonic refers to them as skits in a lot of the trailers and such. However, due to their runtime being on average 30 minutes, these would fit more into the category of short films, so in my eyes it still counts. Now, I will say this, the editing is really good. Even in the earlier episodes, which I'll admit the acting wasn't the greatest in, it was still good editing. And from Sonic's recent work like The Virus and Chaos of the Multiverse, he's doing some crazy stuff for the action scenes and the swords. However, nothing is ever perfect. And this is where we start to get into the critiques I have with the Rec Room Saga. My main critique being the somewhat lack of world building there is. And there's one scene in particular that I'm about to talk about here that I will feel will demonstrate this perfectly. And it is in the first episode. Let me set the scene for you all. Sonic the Man is checking on the time cube. That is until Krypton VR steps through a portal, all sexy and Sigma-like.
Sonic the Man, I know you have a lot of thoughts, but I need to talk to you.
The screen cuts to black because that's cinematic as fuck. So that's how we get our powers. Like, what the fuck? No shot in hell did we just skip over the most important piece of world building in the goddamn series. This is like if we were to make a Batman movie, but we skip over everything that led to Bruce Wayne becoming Batman and just jumped straight into a fight with the Joker. My guess was that Sonic was trying to imply the power crystals have something to do with them getting their powers, but that's not explained either. Like, are the crystals sentient? It seems like it, but we aren't too sure because we don't even know the origins of the crystals because Sonic really wanted this episode to be 4 fucking minutes long!
Absolute cinema.
But of course, I know that this series is still in development, so we may receive answers later down the line or in a future episode. Hell, maybe even in Chaos of the Multiverse. Still, this is no excuse to have important world building be cut out for the sake of runtime, because this can lead to the world becoming unlikable, and that is bad. But now, let's move on to the last movie I want to talk about, and it's the Jollytron movie. What the fuck? This movie is just bad. It's just straight up bad. The plot feels non-existent. Characters are not defined. And the editing, oh god, the editing is just mid. I kind of want to just talk about the editing and plot because the characters are another bag on its own. So let's just talk about those two. The plot feels like they were making shit up as they went along. It's so hard to figure out what is the first act and what is the second act. Hell, if there even is a first act or second act, I don't know, because that's how bad the plot is. And the editing, oh god, the editing. Random filters galore is how I would describe the editing. It's just terrible. It's just bad editing. So what can we learn from the Jollytron movie, kids? That's right, never let this man near Premiere Pro and After Effects again. Damn, it's crazy to me that the same editing software used to edit fucking Deadpool 1 was also used to make this heaping pile of shit. But now, as we reach the end of this 5-page script, a question still stands. As you saw in the title, are Rec Room movies the future of Rec Room Skits? And the answer to that is both yes and no. Let me explain. I do feel like this sort of content is going to catch on at some point as new RecTubers enter the space and try making content for themselves for the first time. A select handful might try to make their own Rec Room movies. But seeing as how much time it takes to make one of these, I see this being a reason why many future RecTubers might not want to try and make their own, which will keep Rec Room movies in their small communities that they have. But I digress. If you enjoyed this long-ass video whatsoever, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to, make sure to follow me on Instagram and to support me on Patreon. Links to these can be found in my link tree in the description. And with that, have a kick-ass day.